everyone. Thanks for the second panel. And Aparna raised a very important point, which I want to take head on, which is there is nothing measurable right now in AI, or not much measurable. So this particular panel, I'll be actually bringing up all the numbers, and then we can discuss the measurability of various things. Also, one quick point, my questions are based on my LinkedIn posts. So if you want to see more about why I'm asking these questions, those are in the LinkedIn post. So I'll start with Jishnu and everyone to introduce, and then I'll introduce myself.
Thank you for having me here. Jishnu Bhattacharjee, Managing Director of Nexus Venture Partners. We are a $2.6 billion fund, investing in, you can say, now, previously I used to say I invest in software stack up and down. Now I say I invest in AI stack up and down. And we also actually invest quite a bit in India, in India's digital infrastructure and all of that. Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Raman Khanna with Dell Technologies Capital. I was just realizing that I have been in enterprise IT for 45 years now. First 20 as an operator, I was CIO of Stanford, and last 25 as a VC.
Awesome. Jishnu Bhattacharjee, General Partner at Keenan. Have been in the venture industry for over a decade now, was with Microsoft. I was early in Office 365 and then ran the product in what is now called Microsoft Teams. Keenan is, we've been around for quite a while, manage about 7 billion early stage investors. And everybody is investing in AI these days. So.
I'm going to take a minute to introduce myself. Ramesh Srinivasan, I'm CEO of Agilysys, NASDAQ, AGYS. There are a few reasons why I'm not qualified to be here. Number one, I don't know the meanings of the words VCP, raising funds, and investing, and I especially don't know the meaning of the word exit. Right? I've been a public company guy for the last 25, 27 years. So I don't live in the world you live in. And one thing that clearly disqualifies me is I'm from Las Vegas. I'm not from Silicon Valley. So to participate in a technology conference, how they gave me a visa to get here, I don't know. Now, just to tell you why I may be qualified to be here a little bit, this is not to brag or anything, but I'm trying to establish credibility in a very august audience. I've been in public companies since 1998 for most part, apart from a couple of years. Manhattan Associates supply chain execution went from 41 million to 260 million from 1998 to 2005, and I was there, despite the other companies struggling in 2000, 2001. Then that CEO got me to Bally Technologies in Las Vegas, a struggling gaming technology company. It was a $10 stock, went to 83 in the next 9 years. And then I took over Agilysys as a CEO 9 years ago almost now. Was a $10 stock, was a struggling company for 10 years, $10. Today it's 125. You can look it up, AGYS on NASDAQ. So if you had invested $10,000 in Manhattan, took it out after I left there, put it in Bally, took it out after I left there, put it in Agilysys, now it would be worth about 5.5 to 7 million. So that's about a 28% or 25% CAGR over 25 years. So I know a little bit about enterprise software. That's why I'm here.
So we are done. We are going to invest.
Just invest in him.
It's all done.
That's all we have to do.
And by the way, Ramesh, I promised there would be no word about technology other than the word agents and LLMs. Promise that we will not discuss that. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I started my career with a PhD in theory of computer vision called computational geometry, worked for IBM Research during 1984 and 2000. We actually used the words agent, I'm always smiling or sad about it, was actually invented in 1989. And agents, the word has been actually kind of, I wouldn't say bastardized, but whatever, it has been overused. We used agentic AI in 1993 to improve paper mills and supply chain processes. And one of the mills actually used for 24 years. Then I quit that. I started IBM India Research Lab and started a company called Knowledge Process Outsourcing, Evaluserve, and grew it to about 220 million, still own part of it. But the new company, Scry AI, the word Scry, by the way, is an English word. You can use it in Scrabble. It means crystal ball gazing or fortune telling. Since we do a lot of predictive analytics, therefore it's Scry Analytics Inc., and A got abbreviated to analytics to A and ink to I, so it became Scry AI with the pun. Here, don't think that I'm negative about LLMs or about agentic AI. I want to portray that I'm giving both sides of the story, and that is where my questions would be. And by the way, I wrote a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution and 100 Years of AI, 1950 to 2050. The first chapter is the most interesting one from my perspective. It took me 200 hours to write the first chapter. I would encourage everyone to read it because there is a lot of important, important lessons that at least I learned being a technologist. And in the whole process, I had to learn some economics and so on. So starting with that, let me, and since Aparna was very good in saying about the numbers, we'll start with some numbers. So in 1999, the US GDP was $10 trillion. And between dot-coms and telecoms, about $0.5 trillion was actually spent. That is about 5% of the GDP. By 2027, US GDP will be $32 trillion, about 1.6 will be spent on AI, data centers, and so on, about 5%. So we are reaching the same numbers. At that time, actually, the GDP growth rate on its own was about 4%. Right now, the GDP growth rate without AI is 0, if not slightly negative. At that time, dollar was actually going up. Now the dollar is going down. Hence, my first LinkedIn post was, is 2027 going to rhyme with 2000, given that? If it does, I think a lot of us, not only the PE guys, and I'm going to ask them, but a lot of us will be screwed because last time it was NASDAQ only which went down. This time it is S&P which will go down. So given this background, and of course you have to put in your hat, whichever hat you want, VC hat, PE hat, a three-time public company hat. What should people do? Are you guys, I mean, personally, I took all the money out of NASDAQ in 1999. I'm jaded and leery. I can't do that now because it's now S&P is equally involved. How are you guys? Are you even thinking? Or am I drinking the Kool-Aid, or is the Silicon Valley, the great Silicon Valley of Anita Manwani in drinking Kool-Aid? Vishnu.
Okay, I will take a shot at it. So, I mean, many things last panel also talked about, and there are a lot of questions. In general, I would probably sum up with a few words, the sentiment that I have. I think that valuation related to AI is super hyped up, and people can argue whether it has technically reached bubble or not, but value is not. So in a way, other way of saying it is that we are, given the innovative companies we are working with, we are definitely saying in areas clear ROI. And those ROI, I mean, is not very difficult to measure with some measurable experiment. It's like just plain simple coming from labor budget, you can just quantify, you can see, what is happening. Now, you can say this might be, as MIT's research paper says, that 95% agents don't work, but those 5% work. And those 5% are creating enormous value. I can give example. We have 4 voice AI companies. And today, voice AI done right, and that is very important because everybody can build voice AI today. You don't need anything. You just prompt, ChatGPT, you will get something. But to make it work in an enterprise setting is non-trivial. And where they're making it work, we have statistics saying that today a voice AI agent might be, let's say, about 80 to 85% accurate compared to a human agent who is on an average 70 to 75% accurate. And this is happening. And people are really thinking of that 500 billion spent in contact centers that's going on, out of which 80% plus is on people. Does it get reshaped to agents, as an example? Definitely similar things we are seeing in software. Today, almost all software engineers are using AI to have a productivity boost. And in some cases, in some situations, it has come up where you can run agents to do a lot of work that for maintenance or cron jobs that people used to do. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying that there are definitely sparkles of value, but is it enough? No. There are so many companies out there who are using or thinking of, what AI can mean to them. Obviously, there has been a FOMO which has been driven by fantastic marketing which, the corporate world has done, and which is great because awareness is very important. But that remains, and we'll see, where it goes. But as of now, I remain super optimistic on what AI can do to our society. Challenges aside.
So one more data point before Raman, as a VC, points out. Currently, to the best of our market research, there are 10,600 AI companies worldwide. Please.
Yeah, look, it's like any other time. There's going to be a lot of money made. I think this will be an era because AI is touching every aspect. Look, OpenAI valuation, we all know where it is going. So they're going to be huge winners. But that said, a lot of money would be lost because people are investing at very ridiculous valuations. But talk about disruption. I'll give you a simple example. I had seed funded a company only 4 years ago in supply chain space. They completely disrupted all established players at customers like Apple, Mercedes-Benz and stuff, and they were just acquired by Salesforce. But I'm saying that very young companies can come in with a clean slate and completely disrupt the incumbents. Because what is happening with AI is you have software that's learning. It's getting better with use. As more people are using it, it's getting better. So I think people talk about the whole SaaS world, is it really at risk of being completely disrupted. So I think there is a huge carcass that these AI startups can feed on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm in the investment business, so I don't think we can. I will take a completely different approach, but I'll just give some macro level, because this question is a very macro level question. Let me give you a couple of macro level data points. If you look at, you're comparing it with .com, right? So if you look at the NASDAQ 100 during .coms, and if you look at the NTM multiples of NASDAQ 100 during .coms, it was trading somewhere around 90x. So that's 90x of forward 12 months revenues. Today, if you look at NASDAQ 100, it is trading at 34x,
Yep.
right? So is it still hyped up? Of course, right? In any kind of mega cycles, this cycle has, just Raman was saying, is having its hype, its share of hypes. There is going to be a share of winners, its share of losers. And at 34x, it's probably not completely 100% healthy, but it's also not completely out of whack, right? So there is value, as Jishnu said, there is value being created, and then there is some places there is value being destroyed. But overall, I think there is a net positive. And then the second data point that I'll give you, this is something that we did internally at the firm, and I've not published this. Maybe we should. I looked at from the beginning of NASDAQ, plotted out that curve, and from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Believe it or not, there is data going back to steam stocks. These are steam engine stocks back in England. They still have those records. And if you take those numbers, plot out that chart, we are actually on that path. And at that point, it felt like, oh, there is a big overvaluation, overhype, but think of where we are. I mean, with time, if something is actually working, just like with AI, it's replacing a lot of human labor, and it's increasing productivity. If that cycle continues, there is going to be compounding on top of that. We will sometimes go a little bit out of whack, but I think it's always going to come back to the mean. That's my big point.
So when Dr. Alok tells you that he's not very negative on this subject, don't believe that. He sent us a couple of days ago a set of questions. I read those questions. I almost decided to jump out of the window and say, you know what, this life is not worthwhile. Then my employees had to pull me back and say, no, Ramesh, we'll survive this. So anyway, so anything transformational, especially with places like Silicon Valley around, is going to be hyped. That is just the nature of the world we live in now. You can't do anything transformational and then complain it's hyped. It is going to be hyped. There are going to be a lot of losers, but there are going to be some mega winners. And it is here to stay, right? There is no question of arguing whether AI is going to be successful or not. But there are going to be some winners and there are going to be a lot of losers. Now, I'll give you I'm not a VC perspective, thank God. I don't have to decide who to invest in and who to not. I'm just happy running one company, but I'm in vertical SaaS. And according to a lot of theories, AI, right, is going to wipe out, companies like us is what you are betting on. But the one qualifier is, all my life I've been in B2. This is a phrase that I've coined. I'll explain it. B to limited B, enterprise software. There's B2C, where you create a gadget, 600 million people buy it, and you have scale. You have B to millions of Bs, NetSuite and Salesforce and Oracle database and Microsoft SQL Server. I'm in B to limited B, few thousand customers, a few 10,000 installs. The other terminology for it today is vertical SaaS, supply chain execution, gaming technology, now hospitality solutions. In our world, the products have been created with literally decades of domain expertise, tacit knowledge, gathered from thousands of customers and tens of thousands of implementations. And everything has to be built into one product. It's not a generalized product. Like, it's not a product that is used the same. Every implementation is a new challenge for us. We put a button blue and 5 customers hate it, 50 customers love it, and we have to change it. We have to provide, it's billions of combinations of configurations and all that. Even a company like that with vertical SaaS, where we feel it is very defensible, but who knows, we have to adopt AI. There is no choice. If the distance between a startup and us is 100 miles, let's say, because we've been in it for decades, a startup is starting, we have to make sure that distance 3 years from now is 200 miles. Because AI is available for the startup. By the way, it's available for us too. We have not been banned from it. God didn't create AI only for Silicon Valley. There are companies in Vegas and Atlanta that can use as well. So our job is to make sure we increase that distance further. So we have to completely, passionately embrace it. We just can't sit with our old laurels. So AI is here to stay. It is transformational. Companies like us and startups have to embrace it. And there are going to be losers, right? You're going to invest in a lot of companies. Many are going to win and many are going to lose. But there is no denying it. Dr. Alok, I wouldn't be too negative about it. Yeah.
I'm not negative. As I say, I'm running Scry AI, I cannot be negative. But yes, I tend to be somewhat provocative and maybe jaded after 40 years. But going back to what Ramesh is talking about, so let's pick up on that. And Vishal Sikka actually mentioned this. Deep learning networks in general, most of the machine learning algorithms are not explainable. Just like our brains are not explainable. They're not interpretable. But at the same time, they're extremely confident about everything. You give them a random noise and they'll say it's a guitar with 99% confidence. And the general belief amongst researchers in computer science is that probably this hallucination business is coming as an extension of this confidence that they have. Given that deep learning networks and LLMs are by and large so confident and hallucinating, do we really think that it would work in enterprise AI? Some of it Vishal Sikka actually rightly mentioned, because you're not asking a question about, hey, my son is going to be 11 years old, what can I do for his birthday? You're asking about 99.3% accuracy or even more from a finance and accounting perspective, and something what Ramesh pointed to. Second, there were 3, this I would call it a third hype, but whether it goes bust or not. First hype in AI happened in 1967, 1960s, went down in 1973. It was all about machine learning. Second happened about subject matter expertise, which is what Ramesh is talking about. They have tons and tons of subject matter expertise. I was graduating at that time. That's when the hype was the highest. It went down in 88. We are in the third hype, according to me. Again, not being negative, but just my view. So the question is the following. Can enterprise AI, and many people, the previous discussion was about build versus buy. If you're just using OpenAI or even open source, can you actually use it for enterprise AI? Or will you have to, like what we are doing, nothing about Scry AI or VN, what we are doing is using a lot of subject matter expertise and building very strong verticals in area. And I would love to get your views on it, because that's something where I think it won't be easy. And therefore, that's why I do believe that this $1.5 trillion is going to go down. But your views?
No, absolutely. Like, I'm just using examples without naming companies from my portfolio. One has built a large tabular model based on all the supply chain tabular data. Other one has been working with companies on their workflows and basically have their own, they call it small language action model. Again, encapsulating all that. Because this is proprietary data, these companies are never going to share with OpenAIs of the world. So absolutely. So you use OpenAI and Anthropic or whatever for things that are not proprietary to the company, but then you also build IP around something that people will use to customize for their own use, but not share with others.
So, so the way we are looking at it is this, right? Like, I mean, in general, of course, you can say in life, many things are stochastic, but a lot of things in enterprise that we do are deterministic. So clearly, if we say that, oh, AI is killing everything that software has built over the last 20 years, it's hype. Anybody who kind of like, put in their thoughts would say that, it has to coexist in some form.
Yep.
Now, one X is like to kind of a framework, if you look at, like, just focusing on the use cases, because as a VC, first thing I ask myself, like, why is it getting used for? And if I map the use cases as fluency versus accuracy, if the use case demands 100% accuracy, I will be 10 times worried about saying that, how they are using LLM or in what context they are using LLM. In many cases, such use cases, I'm seeing that introducing LLM in the name of convenience, they are actually introducing problems, which they are then serving by guard railings, which is nothing but taking away intelligence from the system and, much other kind of, bells and whistles that you would need to do, which essentially behaves like a software, not like an AI system. So that's on one side. But on the other hand, there are a lot of use cases where fluency is most important and the throughput can be, I mean, the accuracy need not be. If it is like, 80% accurate and you don't need to know which 10% it will be inaccurate, go for that, right? So I think it's an evolution. So the way I see it, Alok, is that I think it's a tremendous toolkit that we have gotten, which was not possible over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And if the intelligent entrepreneurs who, without going for the hype, are applying to the use cases which was not possible before, tremendous transformation is possible and will happen. What kind of value, who will lose value, who will make money, who will lose money, we'll figure out. But no doubt, like, a lot of good things can be done.
Look, you've upgraded from your horse-driven carriage to a engine, right? Now the engine is running over a lot of people and you need to like create the highways, you need to like create all the infrastructure. So I think we are in that phase right now. We are kind of putting the rules in place. I think to your specific question on what wins, I think it's ensemble models. So you got your LLMs, you got to more fine-tuned SLMs, you got like for your critical problems, more ML, like not even like you don't trust any kind of LLMs with the most critical part, right? So, and the enterprises are right now in that figuring out stage, which to use for what. We are all figuring it all together, so there is a lot of confusion in the market right now, but I don't think that confusion we should be conflating with nothing, right? Like there is a lot of value here.
Before Ramesh answers, I mean, are you essentially agreeing with me that this $1.5 trillion for which we need to get a revenue of at least $1 trillion a year in 2028 is not going to happen because we're still figuring it out?
I think there is I mean, for any experiment, any big experiment to happen, there is going to be some kind of figuring out, but that does not mean that the ultimate outcome.
So I think the way I'd answer your question is maybe out of that 1.3 trillion, close to 1 trillion might go waste, but the other 300 billion is going to produce tremendous amount of value.
1.5. By the way, in the first chapter of the book, we compare all the 4 industrial revolutions along these lines.
Yeah.
And I'm a very strong believer that these hypes are very good for society. Not necessarily for the private equity group or the VCs, or even for people like us who are now invested in the market, but very good for the society, because in all 4 revolutions, invariably the hype went bust. I mean, this is the 4th one, so I should just say with that caveat, if this goes bust. But after that, things took off.
Yep.
For example, in the second industrial revolution, the hype went bust because of railways were so hyped, but most of them went bankrupt. The price of railways went down dramatically to 5%, and that's how Procter & Gamble and Sears came about. So there are lots and lots of answers, how you're looking at the whole thing, because hype may be very bad for individuals and definitely for entrepreneurs and researchers like us who have probably staked our own entire career, our own passion on it. But hype, again, going back to what Ramesh was saying, he wanted to jump out of the window when he read my 6 comments. I'm all for hype. I'm all for hype and bust, because eventually it's all about us humans, not about AI. It's about us. Can we make AI as a tool? But Ramesh, not to take away your points, because you are from Las Vegas.
He's going to rub it in as well.
Absolutely.
By the way, in Las Vegas, we don't drive 45 minutes even if you want to. You'll start making the second hour. So it's a very productive town. Anyway, different. So just to complete Mr. Khanna's sentence, the 1.3 trillion, 1 trillion might go waste, but the value created by the remaining 300 billion is going to more than make up for that. So when you look at the overall investment, I'm not an investment expert, the value created is going to far be beyond that, is what we think. Now, the enterprise AI question, Dr. Alok, you were talking about, from a vertical SaaS company perspective, right? Well-established company for decades, completely modernized our solutions in the last 8 years. It's all modern ecosystem of hospitality solutions. So from that context, we are looking at AI. The term enterprise AI is a little bit hazy for me, but I'll break it down. One is product development efficiencies. It's making a big difference for us. It's making a big difference for us because we're able to build it on top of the tacit domain knowledge that we have. Mm-hmm. Sometimes AI helps you build a whole building. Sometimes it really helps you. You built it to 5 stories. It now really adds value, right? You can have a high-tech bedroom and a high-tech bathroom and all that. It really helps, right? So product development efficiencies have definitely gone up in a lot of teams, but we use it carefully, right? Where to use it, where not to use it. Because what we do is deterministic. It's not probabilistic. We can't have a system that creates an output that varies slightly from time to time. It has to be auditable. The night audit has to work. The accounting has to exactly match and all that. But AI does add value to our product development process. The second thing, it has definitely added value to our products themselves. In the last 2 months, we won 2 innovation awards, and one of it was in the AHLA show yesterday or day before. Could not have been possible without AI. So the product is deterministic, but there are features in it that are probabilistic. Like, for example, we could give you a revenue upsell for a hotel when you go check in. So on May 15th, you booked your hotel room. They gave you a rate based on revenue management. But then 15 days later, when you check in, we have more data available. What inventory, what room type is available? Are you a user who is stingy? Or do you spend a lot of money in golf, spa, and dining? We can give upgrades based on different prices, and that need not be, for want of another word, deterministic. It's okay if you make a mistake. It should have been $45, but we offered it to you for $47. It's okay. So there, AI, we've really added value to our product features using AI tools. It's really helpful. And then, of course, like any enterprise, we have sales, we have support, we have services, implementation services, we have finance, we have HR. All of that, AI is adding a lot of value. So even though vertical SaaS, instead of being nervous about AI, we are embracing it with everything. But where we think we cannot use it so far, we may be wiped off the face of the earth, I won't not tell, is the deterministic part of it. Yep. That requires decades of knowledge, and that product has 1 million nuances built from 10,000 customers that we don't know how to hand over to AI as yet. So, but if it can be handed over to AI, we want to be the first to do it. So we are embracing it completely.
So to make you feel better, I'll say you are the least desirable part of carcass that startups are going to go after. Because you're the least desirable part, because it's much harder to do that, what you're doing.
But saying you're in an unsexy industry.
But we remain paranoid, because we never know what you guys will invest in and come up.
But I think you are right. Domain knowledge, you need to have some kind of a moat, which yours is domain knowledge.
It's not just domain knowledge. Yep. The problem with B to limited B enterprise software, yep. I have a copyright on that term, by the way. B to limited B enterprise software is every customer knows your name. Yep. Literally 50% of the customers know where I live. Literally. They know I'm on the 17th tee of the legacy golf course. They know that in gaming. So every customer wants their own nuance built into the product. We just can't go sell a general product. Your hotel uses it the same way as your hotel. No, you have your own nuances. So the product has to behave in 1,000 different ways as a configurable. That we think is difficult for a startup AI to duplicate, but we don't know. We are remaining paranoid. If you can do it, we want to be the first to do it. So that's our attitude towards it.
Good.
picking up on what Jishnu said and you said, and I think Aparna pointed out that there are no measurable things. So let me put 5 measurable KPIs, which I think to a business person, to an end business customer, it really doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned, whether it's AI giving the solution, God giving the solution, devil giving the solution, as long as his or her KPIs are met, which is probably increasing revenue, reducing cost, time to market, fluency, or where accuracy does not matter, and I can name a few others. Which of these, when you folks are looking at companies and you're investing, which do matter? Because, for example, in intelligent document processing, which is about a $10 billion market, actually accuracy matters a lot. Because if you're not able to, and of course OpenAI and others miserably fail because they're only 90% correct, when they convert a table into a structured table format, they're only 90% correct. And worse, that not only they're 90% correct, they don't tell you where they're wrong, so the poor data analyst has to look at everything. Yeah, so I mean, clearly that's a place where you have a negative return on investment, and if you folks have been following business process outsourcing, knowledge process outsourcing, even those companies in India are so afraid of AI, they have not embraced it yet, because at least they have a few years left. Now, how many, we don't know, but at least as long as LLM's hype is there, I think they're safe. What is your view on which are the KPIs you look for, Jishnu, Raman, Joydeep, and of course, from your perspective, sir?
So, I would say really start with two core questions. One is, is this a use case which heavily relies on maybe database lookup and things which are, again, like, hard, and there is nothing, no gray area. It is like either black and white. I need to know sales, which has happened 3 months ago, then I better know. I can't say that, oh, this system gives you that answer with 99% accuracy, and which 1% is wrong, I don't know. So, like, for example, in general, a very tough area, like a lot of people have been working on, is text to SQL problems, in terms of, like, okay, you don't need to bother about the entire relational database technology and SQLs that has happened. You just ask magically OpenAI with some integrations and you will get the answer. I get little cautious about it. I mean, even though there are companies in our portfolio who has made a lot of progress, but if the use case doesn't lead to things where directional accuracy, and accuracy can be like, let's say, good amount, like, when we are talking about, because LLMs have come along a long way, we are talking about 80, 90%, maybe sometimes 95%, right? Directional accuracy is actionable. Like if LLM is being used in marketing, it is being used, I don't know of very many marketing operators today who is not using LLMs in some form or the other.
Yeah.
I would definitely argue that probably more than 50% of developers are using some sort of AI assistance today as we speak, right? And similarly, and we are very much invested in it, you can say, is voice AI. There is a lot of things that is happening around where you can actually run through voice. Now, all these systems, when it is getting applied in enterprises, few things are super important. One is product and domain understanding. By product understanding, I mean, like, people who are your intended users, where they are, what is the workflows that they are going through, because you have to meet them where they are. You can't all of a sudden ask them and say that I am the Silicon Valley AI dude. Whatever I am telling, that's how you have to do, otherwise your business will go away. It will never work. So can you really meet them where they are from a product perspective? And the other part, which is super important, is really kind of understanding the domain and understanding where they're coming in. And some of the points that you mentioned, I am actually surprised the good, like really great entrepreneurs, like who are understanding this, how fast they are becoming, domain experts. It's just unbelievable. Like, to computer science AI experts, like, in their 20s, I bagged actually, who are automating many of these workflows for the insurance industries. After 1.5 years, when I speak with them, since we funded, I can't tell if somebody doesn't tell me that he is not from an insurance industry. So people have to embrace domain, whether they do it themselves, they bring in expertise and understand the product, then build LLM on top. And also build the boundaries around whatever it's needed. And I think a lot of strong computer systems understanding will be needed here. Like many people say, oh, you don't need to worry about understanding object-oriented programming or how the computer science bits and bytes are working. You just need to use LLM and everything will be fine. I think it cannot be further from truth. Yeah. I worry about our kids, when they're just coming up with apps by prompting, are they really understanding what is going on, behind the scenes? So I think, again, my point would be used right with eyes wide open for the use cases and how LLM is being used can do wonders. If not, can be disaster.
Yeah. No, I think 100% agreed. Like, look, one of the things we as VCs do a lot, both before investing, talk to a lot of end users, try to figure out what their top 3 problems are, where they're willing to deploy technology, and then of course, after we invest, connect them there. I'll give you 2 simple examples. We have a digital pathology company which makes pathologists a lot more productive. So it's AI doing that, but ultimately the pathologist has to sign off. So if there is AI hallucinates once in a while, there is a human checking. Similarly, we have a translation company that's much more efficient in terms of producing your website in any language in the world. AI does its job, but at the end of that, they have a language expert who reviews it before it's kind of finalized. So you're providing a lot of efficiency, but not just kind of going crazy, just relying on AI.
Yeah, I mean, similar. Look, I think the way I'd summarize is the ones that are doing the best in terms of rapid growth are the use cases where there is a human in the loop. Because right now, for all the reasons that you mentioned, Alok, you cannot let AI just go and do things by itself, right? So there is still, the guardrails are not quite there. So if you look at some of the use cases like legal, where all these, the full case had to be created, but mostly it was the paralegals that used to do all these things. And these are kind of more lower level people that used to do all the hard work, and then the lawyers whose hourly rates are much higher, they would review and do the correction. And now with AI, a lot of that work is being automatically generated by AI, but you still have the people correcting it because you cannot just let that AI work go through, right? We have a company, Sneak, where they're doing automated code remediation. So they're looking at all reams of code and generating the fix, but then a developer still has to review it before it goes out into the production. So those are the best use cases right now. I think eventually, maybe in 10 years' time, I don't know when AGI comes and things go by, whether they happen by themselves or not. But for now, those guardrails are most important.
Yeah, so ours is a different context, obviously, right? I'm not looking at investing in companies, but seriously, in our products, we have to decide where to use AI, where not to, right? And for example, conversational ordering, right? You're trying to make a spa booking in a resort. You call in, which kind of therapist do you need, male or female, left-handed, right-handed, this particular time. No, that particular time is costlier. All that can be handled by an agent, right? Can be handled by an agent. Golf booking, things like that. We recently introduced where you can go to a booking engine yourself as a guest and book the entire experience. Room for 3 nights, and there are conditional bookings, like you have to stay for 3 nights before you can play in Concourse 2 golf. To eat in that particular restaurant, you need to stay in that villa for 2 days. It handles all of that. And a lot of these resorts sell packages where you get one free spa booking, one Concourse 2, another golf course. And the AI agent can walk you through that whole booking experience with no call center staff required. That is not deterministic. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's not the end of the world, right? And we can perfect the algorithm as we go along. So that agent actually walks you through the whole booking engine. Okay, you booked your room. Now, what is the golf time you need? Oh, that golf time doesn't work. It'll walk you through that. And it'll go look at the spa system to make sure it's there. So all that kind of stuff, we really are embracing AI fully. Right? So we pick and choose, right? What suits and what doesn't.
You have to.
It's a microcosm of the investment decisions you make. We just make decisions on where to use it.
You're also investing your resources, right?
One more question from me and then to the audience. Of course, the white elephant is OpenAI, Anthropic, and these are all white elephants. OpenAI did $12 billion in revenue and has gone in a loss of $48 billion after that. Its total cost has been $60 billion. It's trying to go public. Probably it will go public. Given that it's making revenue from, right now from licenses, it may go into marketing like Google did in 2000. Is that going to be the play for Perplexity, Anthropic, OpenAI, and will they be eating that $150 billion worth of the total GDP in marketing coming from currently Google and Meta and others? Because the TV ads will remain as TV ads, very unlikely that they will come down until the ratings really get hit. Do you think that's the way, and if that's the case, will all of these survive? Will any of these survive, given that you have DeepSeek and you have all these Chinese models, which, by the way, in all openness, open disclosure, we use all the time? Will these even survive? First of all, the licensing, and OpenAI is now trying to license in India for 5,000 rupees a year. Will they even survive, or will one of them even survive?
I can take a first stab, and of course the others. I'd love to hear from the others. But look, I think all these models, they understand that the value is not at the bottom layer of the models. They all have to capture some part of the application. Yeah. I think each of these model companies are taking a little bit of a different route to what they capture. Looks like OpenAI is kind of, as you said, going after kind of the next Google, the whole walled garden of capturing a lot of those ad revenues. And also they are, I think, going after the e-commerce, because e-commerce from OpenAI, they hired Fidji, who actually created the whole Facebook ecosystem and app, and she was taking Facebook towards that e-commerce thing. And now OpenAI is creating all these hooks for everyone, like, for example, Booking.com, Kayak, Expedia, to all go in. So you're going to do all the commerce from OpenAI, right? So which is their business model. Anthropic is they always took this kind of the developer approach. I think it's yet to be seen where that revenue and value accrues. Obviously, the Cursors and the Windsurfs of the world have taken off, but a lot of them is powered by Claude, right? And I think Anthropic is going in that direction and trying to capture that market. So all of these players are going to have to find how they capture value in the end. Now, are they burning a lot of money? Yes. But is there a lot of potential and a lot of market size up for the taking? I think there is.
Before others respond, just some data points. Bloomberg tried a quantified LLM using, of course, domain expertise. You can't beat Bloomberg when it comes to finance. They completely failed after putting $200 million. So Anthropic, and going back to what Ramesh said, which I'm a very strong believer of, that without domain expertise, you're dead. And in Silicon Valley, therefore, you are dead most of the time, because most of you are technologists, but that's my own view about it. So given that, do you think, other than, again, going to marketing or e-commerce?
So this is the consumer side of things, right?
Yeah.
There's always the enterprise side of things.
And that's where I'm asking the question.
And in enterprise, I think we talked about it, right? You have to have more fine-tuning, more SLMs. You may have even like more ML parts. I mean, that's a very different, very bespoke stack that you need to create. I don't think it's just like a off-the-shelf.
That question, because forget about consumers. In the enterprise stack, which is going to be domain expertise, which is going to be
absolutely
very, very domain-specific, human-centric, and so on. What's your views, sir?
I'm not going to discount companies like what you're saying. I remember, I'm old enough to know 99 people were saying same things about Amazon, how much money they're losing. So I think these guys they have enough resources. They might acquire, they might do other things. So I won't discount any of these.
So you think all 5 will become Amazons of the next?
I don't know about all 5, but 2 or 3 might actually, they have a lot of advantage. Actually, one of the things, I don't know if you guys do, like every time we are looking at a AI investment, we think, can OpenAI kill them?
Right.
You always are looking at that.
Yeah. So you're right. Like, clearly Amazon was getting discount. Like a lot of people, even Google, right? Like, a lot of people said, what is it? What are they doing and all that? I think to your point, and I am also quite quite, like it's very difficult to fathom that $12 billion revenue company is burning 60 billion. I don't know, like the scale has changed dramatically. Like, it's like several orders of magnitude. So it's an interesting world we live in. There are also a lot of talks around what is going on, how the money is flowing. Is it like getting round trip based on who is the chip provider, who is the kind of like, infrastructure provider, who is building. So there are a lot of unanswered questions that way. I think as a first principle investor investing in early stages, I am just asking this value, like this question, is this something that can change the paradigm of what value they are bringing in, and can this be realized? And all the points that you said, and many comments probably I also touched on enterprise software, I firmly believe it doesn't matter whether it is OpenAI or Anthropic or even DeepSeek, whatever is being used, very deep understanding of domain and workflows will be needed. The stack will be different, but I do believe that if somebody does that properly, I think there will be value. For example, you mentioned about Bloomberg. On the same vein, I would say, we have a company which did wonderfully, a fantastic job. It's called Dalupa, on certain part of finance, by understanding this very basic principle that many things in finance world is deterministic, but Anthropic's model had a play there, and they could do it. I don't know what process went in Bloomberg on what they did it, but I do think that done right, even in finance, actually LLM has a play. But done right is very, very critical, and many people may not be able to do that.
And there is this, just quickly, next generation of quote unquote, I don't know if I call them consulting companies coming, who are providing the last mile where there is a gap. And they are going industry by industry, tackle the airline industry, bring domain experts for airline, bring domain experts. So they are going after that also. So I think people, that's the interesting. If there is a problem, people are going to put resources to try to solve it.
Any other thoughts before we open the...
Yeah, sure. I hope you all are noticing, since I'm not from Silicon Valley, I'm from Las Vegas, every question I come last. Right, even though
because you're the most important. Obviously, you're the most important. You're the person
here. I'm the most elderly.
I would
giving you the last.
Ramesh, that may not be true.
I flight
actually,
from Vegas to come here just to participate. Even then, anyway, I'm just kidding.
I have to tell you,
you have to have fun as well.
This may not be true, but we can have that debate later.
Very exciting company in Las Vegas. So
let me give you a serious answer. All kidding apart. Yesterday on CNBC, there was a 5-minute piece of an interview with the Cognizant CEO, S. Ravi Kumar, I think his name is. I don't know him. I'm not giving him a plug or anything. He's not my friend or anything. But that's among the best 5 minutes on AI I've heard. It's among the best I've heard. Right? It was a very, Ravi Kumar gave excellent answers, well thought out. And one of the things he said that got stuck in my mind is currently you're hearing a lot of these investments, a lot of this go to the back end, let's call it back end infrastructure, right? All these data centers and all that. The value has not yet moved to the front end fully yet. The front end software and enterprise software, the changes, I think when that value moves, there is going to be a price on it. For companies like us, who want that front-end value, if you know what I mean, in that value chain, there's going to be a price. So I don't know about one particular company or so. Like he said, this is what we said about Amazon that time. They're doing quite well. My bet is I think these companies will do quite well. They're using the same model of give it free, let everybody use it, and then you start charging for it kind of thing. But people like us, like our company, which is enjoying the front end of the value chain, not investing in the back-end infrastructure, somewhere along the line, I think there will be a price that we'll have to pay more. We spend $70 million on R&D every year, $315 million annual revenue company. We overspend on R&D, and only a small portion of that is AI now. So we are not contributing to that. Companies like us will have to contribute more. And therefore, I think those companies will do well and turn profitable. No, which company, where and all, I don't know. But I think in general...
That's the job of, again, you're from Las Vegas.
That's a job, your job. Yeah, you do the investment, we'll make the money and go. Anyway, that's what I think. I think when the value moves towards more the front end, there'll be a price to be paid. That's what I think.
And nobody's going to mess with you. I think your customers have some very interesting connections, so nobody's going to mess with you.
Yes, I do know a couple of mafia members in Vegas. You should. Yeah.
Any questions from the audience? I'm sure there are quite a few. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. I'm a founder and also a student of Stanford Business School and Stanford School of Engineering Computer Science. Recently, my school published a paper, Stanford published a paper, where we could see these patterns where each of these models are using the data of the consumer to train their models. There could be a very high chance that the same sneakiness creeps in at the enterprise level. Then how are the enterprises, or at what level are they willing to trust these models with their data? Because data is the IP.
So I can answer the question for Scry. And we work a lot in banking, finance, and insurance. And their use of OpenAI, et cetera, is very, very limited because of this reason. Even though Microsoft Azure promises them that their data will not be used, they are extremely afraid. So they would rather have us put an open source, a really good open source LLM on 4 GPUs rather than using the tokens from OpenAI, from Anthropic and others. This will be a very interesting discussion anyway in the next few years, in my opinion, because it's not only that problem that is, which is a confidentiality problem, it's that, again, LLMs we do not know, deep learning networks we do not know how to explain them, and they're behaving somewhat mischievously. Maybe humans do too. They often resort to lying, they resort to blackmailing and so on. I mean, these things are coming out more and more. So this whole game will be, you can call it game, you can call it real world experience, I think is an interesting, from a research perspective, which I still about 20% of the time spend time on, I think is a very, very interesting game in itself. I mean, that's a different discussion.
Yeah,
which
short
ROI
answer
is not meant
is
for.
all enterprises have very strict policies about what you can use and can data leave the company.
Yeah, I spend like more than 50% of my time on security, actually. So this is something that we think day in, day out. We just actually sold a company in AI security. And this is something typically a security company goes and sells to the chief information security officer, right? So this company, AIM Security, every time they went to sell to the CISO, the CIO, the chief information officer, came into the picture. Because the chief information officer right now is trying to figure out how do they actually enable all these AI systems in a secure fashion. So security is not an afterthought, it's a pre-thought for AI models, exactly because of this reason. They don't want confidential information or any kind of information that they don't want to leave the enterprise perimeter to leave it. So my sense is that this is one area where security is going to be, first they're going to build security and then they're going to enable the AI pieces almost in parallel.
In fact, my view about security is that it's probably the hottest field, or should be the hottest field, because of this reason. I mean, we are not into it, but yeah, please go ahead. Anita.
My question, actually, I would love to hear, I'd love to hear from the three of you investors. Sorry, Ramesh, I will come back.
Sorry, you're from Las Vegas, you're a researcher, we don't know about
I have something for you later. But I really want to hear whether, when you are talking to companies and making those investments, how much are you probing into their practices and the kind of technology they use? And because, ultimately, your investments are going to be impacted by some of these security breaches.
So before you answer the question, 1 second. What is your name, please? Priyanka. So Priyanka, let me give you a quick answer to your question on B2B, right? In hospitality solutions, there are already built-in guardrails about personal data. GDPR in Europe, CCP, I think it's called in California. There are very strict rules, like when you use your credit card, using our payment devices, there are already compliance rules and all built in, and we cannot use AI tools that circumvent them. So those guardrails are already there, but it's a B2B concept, B2B context. But our hotels are B2C. But the software we provide them already have all those guardrails built in, regardless of whether we use AI tools or not, right? So I just want to answer the question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, to answer your question, we spend so much time with the quote-unquote CXOs. First of all, I have an advantage. I have direct access to all the Dell IT, so talk to them all the time. But we as a fund organize over 100 dinners a year with CXOs for us and our portfolio companies to talk to them and really at a very detailed level try to understand what they will and will not be willing to do. So yeah, that's really critical.
You are double clicking on the entrepreneur or the founder's invention to kind of that is not going to cause breaches in the end.
So we have put entrepreneur on call with whatever the right CXO is, and then kind of the fly in the wall and listen to the conversation. What are the concerns that are coming up?
Yeah, if I understood your question correctly, Anita, I think many cases it all depends on what the startup is building. If the startups are in the vertical agents space, that means most of the cases they are actually using third-party models, right? Mm-hmm. So in many cases, in that case, the onus is actually on the model provider. So I think, and also see the other thing that is happening, right? Like look at what OpenAI and Anthropic have done, and probably that's why it is also getting sort of accepted. Like they have been breaching things left and right, and then they were doing deals. Like, when they had a lot of money, they will go to New York Times and say that, okay, we are kind of doing it, right? So I think there is a thing that, when we are working with very small companies, they themselves are navigating and trying to figure that out. I would say at least like, at our stage, we don't worry that much about that. Obviously, we have to make sure that if they tell their customer, hey, we are not using your data, they have to, otherwise, they will be like blatantly liable, especially for enterprises. But other than that, I would say sometimes like, entrepreneurs in many ways are breaking glasses, trying to figure things out that, where the boundaries are. So yeah, with that, we also keep that perspective in mind because otherwise we'll become too regimental and we will not let the innovation spark come out. So.
Yeah, it's almost, I think with the advent of LLMs, counterintuitively, security is almost also been out because all these startups, what they're trying to do is they're trying to solve the productivity problem. The security is almost the job of on one side the enterprise and the other side the LLMs. Because the enterprises are actually sending data into these companies. So if the enterprises are okay sending that data, then these guys can send that data to the LLMs. So most of the enterprises have to first figure out whether they're comfortable to send the data to the startup or not. And this is the reason, I'm sure you're aware, but any enterprise sales, there is an InfoSec cycle, right? That cycle is almost like, I don't know, a 2.5, 3 month cycle for any serious enterprise. And that's where they all kind of go through and figure out whether those things.
Yeah, and this cycle is increasing because I'm finding that many enterprises are having now AI task force. So
exactly.
Previously it was just, CISO or CIO making decisions.
Yeah,
now legal counsel is getting involved and all that.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I know the question was for these three people, but I'll answer for Scry. We basically install everything on-prem. In BFSI, we just tell them that, look, everything will be on-prem, including your LLM if you want.
Yep.
Give us 4 GPUs, we'll just install everything on-prem. Then you take care of the IT firewall. We don't have to worry about data breaches.
Exactly.
But everyone is playing a different game. I know we are...
Okay. Thank you. I think that was our hype, and that's because we're from Silicon Valley, that we are way over time. And, so point well taken, Ramesh. Thank you all for being here, and really, really appreciate it. A round of applause.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, sir.
Great to see you.